Hello, in this video we are going to start to model this character. What we'll be doing is box modeling, and the output is a blocked out character that we will then send to ZBrush to sculpt on. So this won't be the finished version of the model or of this character, but a good starting point to start sculpting from. All right, so usually I will start with just a polygon cube like this. And whenever we are working, we want to think about how can we make this thing as fast as possible. And usually that means working on one side, doing half the work, and then mirroring it over. So to do that, we can just select one of the faces, probably on the negative X. See on the bottom, there's positive X and negative X is on this side. I'm going to hit delete. Then I want this line to be right in the middle. So I'm going to hit W to move. And then if I hold down X in middle mouse and drag it on that arrow, see how it snaps on the grid? X in middle mouse. All right, so now I have an object and it's on that side of the x-axis. So now I'm going to go over to my front camera and move this up. And then I usually would start with the biggest part of the body, which is the torso. So move that up, move this over. Now if I press 4, I can see the wireframe. 4 and 5, I cycle through that quite a bit. And that looks good. Now I can just start using, so to get to that, I'll use insert edge loop. So I'm holding down shift and right click. Insert edge loop. And sometimes if you've been using this tool, you might want to reset your tool. So reset tool. You can double click this to get to the tool you're on and reset tool. And then I'll start adding spans. And you see that I'm putting everything somewhat even. I'm also looking at the underlying form. So the image underneath, see how wherever there is a vertex, there's almost a change in direction on the form. So I'm adding a vert like that. So like this. So I'm thinking about how I can make this even topology. And see from the side now. And to make sure I can get all the elements of this, the form here. So to start pushing these vertices over. So this is pretty much all you have to do to get a base model. And you just start adding more elements like the arms, legs, head, all that kind of stuff. But essentially, this is what you do. And make sure that you do the underlying skin, not the shirt or clothing. Generally, you want to do the skin first and then generate clothes after you've done the body. Okay. Might want to add an edge loop here to get this curvature. And like that. Okay. Then I'm going to go to front camera. Select this, insert edge loop. That. I flattened that, so that's a quick little detail I should probably show. I do that, and then to flatten something, I can go and use scale on one direction. See how it's flattened it? Now I'm just moving this over. I'm putting this edge loop in here so that I can select this face here extrude out a leg. And I can hold down X and little mouse. I'll snap to the grid. There we go. Enter edge loop. Start adding more spans in there. Look at this. I added that one mainly so that the geometry is more even. And then I'm just going to go over and do this. Okay. Not worrying about too much about the foot yet. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to go to the side. Okay, this over like this. All right, so I have this. Now let's do the arm. The arm is a little more trickier because we don't have a good side view. So you see I decided to make sure that you could see the torso more than you could see the hand or the arm. So select that and extrude. Flatten it. And let's look at the front. Just move this down. That. Enter edge loop. So this should be pretty similar to everything else. And then I'll just start shaping it. Move this over here. Make it a little more even. Then I probably want to put an edge loop here to get that roundness of the arm. That. Okay. Now let's look at the perspective, I think. So this extruded out from the chest. So now we need to really flatten these ones here. So grab those. I'm going to flatten them by scaling them in one direction. Just move it back. Chest kind of gets pushed out. And I'll do the same thing for the back of the arm. Just move it a little bit like this. There we go. And that feels all right. The end of this guy, he has big hands. So kind of like yeah, like that. Scale that out a bit. Kind of fans out a bit more. There we go. And now I'll do the neck and head. So let's look at the side view, and I'll extrude this out. So add some spans in here so that I can make that form. There we go. And when we're doing the head, make sure that we are doing the skin and not the hair, because we're going to add the hair on top using XGen. Okay, so we have this. Now let's go to the front view. And this where it becomes a little bit difficult what I'm selecting because it's at an angle, these edge loops. So I would suggest do something like this and then change this side to a front view. And then I can easily just select this, just select the vertices that I want to move over. That one. 4, just move those over. And like this, move that over. And this, move it over. There we go. So now I have a neck. Now the rest of this, I'm going to, actually I'll delete these faces. You don't want any of these inside faces that we're going to be mirroring this whole side of the body over eventually. But so what I was saying was that since we're going to be bringing this to ZBrush, sometimes it's useful to have pieces not connected. That way we can model them without worrying about the rest of the body. It's a little bit easier for just navigating around the object while we're sculpting. And then at the end, we'll attach everything. So we're going to use a cube to start off with the head. And we'll do that same way. Delete that face, select these verts, hold down X and middle mouse and drag it to the center. Then move this up. And then I am going to go here and move this verts the top of the head. I'm going to click on this so I can see the side and the front. There we go, and the perspective there. And now I can press 4. Just get the general shape down. Okay. Move this up here. And just a reminder that we're getting the skin underneath the hair. So just try to see through the object and see where the cranium would be. Okay. So something like that. And then I'm going to start adding edge loops. Okay. And sometimes holding down right click over this doesn't work. I think that's just because it's on wireframe. So if you hold down, if you're having trouble, otherwise I usually hover over an edge and that helps. Then I'm just gonna start removing this stuff over. Trying to get the general form of it. Silhouette. This will give us a good starting point when we start sculpting. Okay. So something like this. And then we will need to use the side view. So I'm going to move this stuff over. I'm looking at this side while I'm doing it. And these vertices, this side probably gets pulled back. It's not going to be perfect with something this so low poly, but you can get a good starting point. So like that, probably. And let's see. Just looking around, seeing if that's good enough. Yeah, I think that's a good starting point for our head. All right, now we should do our horn. So I'm going to hit create polygon cube. Rotate this. This one's going to be a little trickier. This. It's a lot of back and forth usually, so I'll move that. But it's going to be pointing backwards. That. So then have a quick way to move between world and object mode. So right now this is on object mode, but I kind of want to move it straight towards positive X. And you can hold down shift right click, go to world. So that's a nice little, use that a lot when you're doing rigging. So like putting the bones and stuff. It's a good hotkey. And then I'll switch back to object when I need it. So I can move this like that. I'll extrude. There we go. So it's okay that these things are going into each other, because in ZBrush we can do something called Dynamesh, where we'll combine everything and do Dynamesh on it. And that will melt everything together. And then it will, oh, there we go. So the point of this is that we can get good proportions. And we get a good starting point. This is much easier to do in Maya than in ZBrush to get these basic shapes in. I'm just going to move this down like that. Okay. I think that's fine. So now I have that. Now I do the foot. So let's move this here. And it kind of makes sense if I just move these verts up, then I can extrude this face out. So if I go to face, extrude face, move that straight back, and you kind of see on the side view where that would end. And then I can move this down, and then I can move this way, this way, something like that. I'll move that straight like that. And that's fine. Now I need to get toes. So I might add another edge loop here just so that it makes things a little bit more even topology wise. And to create toes and fingers, generally you will create one of them and then duplicate it. So I'm going to go to polygon and cube and just make this like this. I'll start with a cube, this, and this will have to change from the what we see in the concept, because since we are melting these pieces together, you have to be careful on what you don't want to melt together. And if I have my toes really close to each other, like they are in here, wherever they're almost touching, they might connect. So we need a good enough space, and then a good enough space between them so that they don't actually merge together. And then we will, when we're sculpting, we'll push them together a bit after the fact. But we need enough space in there so that we don't accidentally merge everything together. So I'm just going to move that over. Might move these over a bit. Move that so it gets those toes. Okay. So it looks like something like this. And then let's do the hand. So I'll go to create, polygon, cube. Put that over, and just like everything else, you probably want to start with the biggest part, which is the palm. So I'll do something like this. Get that shape in first, and then you do the smaller parts that make it up. So like there you go, like the fingers. Then I'll start adding an edge loop here. Like move that up so I get a nice rounding that happens on our hand. This. So something like that. The side view, I'll probably push that down a bit. And I'll probably put this like this. Move it up so it's a little bit more rounded. Like this. Okay. And then I want to probably put that more in the middle. And the shape, if we look at our palm, has this wedge-like shape, so something like that. So that's a good kind of shape for a palm. And then for the fingers, let's try and create another cube. Let's move this up. Move that like this. Move it up. And then I'm just going to place it like this. Okay. And then I'm going to select that face, extrude. So that's the first part of our finger. And then hit G to do the last action, which is extrude, and do it again. There we go. So then that's one finger. Probably could make it a little bit thinner. Move it over like that. Then I'm going to duplicate it. Put more in the center and make sure that we have enough space between the fingers. And rotate down. And you'll see on the bottom it's kind of following that shape. Duplicate again. Make it smaller. Rotate. Whip back. There we go. Something like that. Okay. Good. Look good in there, but not another one. So I think just move this out a bit more like that. There we go. I think that's fine. Take the hand with a grain of salt because it's just a little more difficult to match the design. So get as close as you can, but yeah. Now I'll just use the create, do the thumb, creating a cube for that. This. And actually, we want to angle this. So that, move it back. Select that, extrude. Then insert edge loop. That down a bit. That's a lot of nudging, moving things around till it kind of fits. There, it's starting to fit. And this feels a bit too big. There we go. Now it's starting to feel right. Okay. And we'll finesse it after the fact too, once we're in ZBrush. All right, so now I have my blocked out character. With this, oh, and I forgot to put in the ear, so I'm gonna go do that. So create another cube. Let's look at it through the front. This is an instance where the art doesn't match from the front and side. And the thing about ears is, and usually you'll have that happen. Usually, they'll do their best, the concept artists, but a lot of times there'll be mistakes in there or things that they didn't see when they're doing their work, especially if it's in perspective. But you'll notice that the ear is longer on the front than the side. In general, you want the bottom of your ear to end at the bottom of the nose and the ear to be at the bottom of the eyebrow or top of the eyebrow. So around there, the top of the eyebrow feels right. So I'll use this one as reference because it's the bottom of the nose. And then I'm going to go over and move this down. Move this to the side. I'm going to taper it like this. That up. And then go to perspective or side view. Move this over. That. This will move down like this. And then I'll add some spans in here. So probably like this and like this. And I'll start moving this into the shape. Round that out. Put this over a bit. And this lower. And then in the perspective view, I can kind of ramp it up so it doesn't just stick out like this. So move this over like that. This into the skin a bit. There we go. So now have this good base for the ear. Okay. So the next thing is mirroring. So I'm going to select this guy, go to mesh, mirror. Keep an eye on the center line, because sometimes this will merge things that you don't want to merge, and you'll get like triangles, that kind of thing. And you'll have to play around with this number. Usually I set this to a low number just in case, so that it doesn't merge things that are too far away. So the lower the number, the more the verts have to be perfect, like on top of each other in the middle. And then the further that number, the larger that number, the more it will merge things. All right. So I'll do that same thing. I can press G to do the last tool used. And I can do that even with these pieces, G. Probably for the fingers in the hand, I'll combine it. So I'll go to mesh, combine. Do that. And mirror. And then the feet. So say that is, we have this and then this. I kind of want to cut off the feet from the rest of the body. So what I'll do is select these feet. So make sure you grab the whole thing and go to mesh, extract faces. So go to your marking menu, extract faces. And that will separate this as two different objects. Then I'm going to combine, I'm going to mirror the toes first. So I'm going to go mesh, mesh mirror, so that I get each one of the toes. Just press the G to do the last action. And then I'm going to combine all this. Mesh, combine. So there we go. So then I have a nice like separation. Like I can just work on the feet, just work on the body, that kind of thing. All right. I think that is good. Now, make sure you delete your history. Make sure you're versioning up. And then what we'll need to do is, let's delete our history again, is name these. So our naming structure for this class basically is, if you have pulled it into here, so middle mouse drag things out, is then what it is underscore geo if it's geo, if it's a group it's grp at the end, that kind of thing. So the feet, go feet underscore grp or geo, and body underscore geo, hands underscore geo, and ears underscore geo. And I kind of want my head and my horns to be one thing. If you're looking at this, they kind of meld into each other, so I'm gonna do that. So mesh, combine, and you'll notice on the left, whenever you combine, you get this transform node and this group. That's just kind of trash data when you combine stuff. So I'm just gonna go edit, delete all by type history, and it will get rid of it. So I'll just name this head underscore geo, and yeah, so that's all of it. Then I usually grab everything, do Control G, and that puts it under a group. A group is like a folder. You can use it to do a lot of cool things, like with rigs and changing pivot points, that kind of stuff. But it's also used to organize your scene, and we can just do like, I don't know, body underscore grp. Just something simple. Delete your history, freeze your transforms, that kind of thing. So I'm going to increment and save, and I will see you in the next video.